the weeks before these big pay-per-view events, because we haven't been driving this home, which we will here in a second, but Wembley Stadium All In is August 27th. Actually, is it the 26th over there and it'll be the 27th over here with the time difference, or what the fuck's going on? Or is it all the same day?
Sunday, August 27th.
It's all the same day. But then 1 week later will be All Out. Another pay-per-view from Chicago, right? That is their scheduled fall pay-per-view.
And that actually has been their big event because All Out was the one that but took over for the original All In when they wanted to do it every year.
But now they're going to be in and out in the space of a week.
In and out.
Yeah. And they may be fucked by being in and out because we're just now finding out what the Wembley Stadium matches are. But now they're having to announce stuff for Chicago the week after at the same time. It's going to be a little confusing, but more importantly, again, how much money do people have? And if they're going to pick and choose, one would think they would pick Wembley Stadium because of the happening. And at the same point, to be honest, if he knew when he did Wembley Stadium, they had to know they were going to broadcast this in some form or fashion. Why could Wembley Stadium not become All Out? Why could that not be the big fall pay-per-view, the big fall show? Did they not have a clue who was going to air what, when, how? Why? I don't understand. Was this the plan to have two pay-per-views within 7 days, including one of them being the biggest show in the history of wrestling?
There's not a lot of rhyme or reason to what's done in AEW, and then they hope for the best. As you said previously on the Drive-Thru, Tony's received a lot of gifts from his father, from the fans. The period of time where everyone overlooks everything is kind of gone, and it's easy to look at everything happening domestically or in Canada and go, oof. But then there's Wembley, and there's all these tickets that were sold before any matches were announced, and then the matches were announced, and now it seems like a lot of people, potentially people who spent all this money to go to Wembley, are somewhat disappointed, and you can understand why.
Well, you can't peak, especially with the shortage of talent that they have. I'm not talking about shortage of roster members. I'm talking about shortage of top talent that people actually care about, that people watch on purpose, go to see on purpose. You can't peak that many programs and angles to peak 2 weekends in a row for 2 separate shows with 2 different lineups. It's almost not possible.
What if go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, and if they didn't know how Wembley was going to be telecast, I would have at least held off or, tried to postpone the idea of doing a big show the following week until I sorted that out, rather than just saying, well, we'll just do both of them. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Unless you planned, and I'm not saying this would be a sound plan, unless you planned to have something really big happen at Wembley and then followed up on Wednesday on TV to lead into Chicago. I'm not saying that'd be the best idea, but if you did, again, it's not going to happen.
Well, but if they
did Bucks and CM Punk, if they did something at Wembley to lead into Chicago, that whole week, everyone in wrestling will be talking about that.
Remember, Vince did that 30 years ago. He switched the title, controversial deal involving The Undertaker this Tuesday in Texas. They did a Sunday and then Tuesday instead of the replay. They had back then, the pay-per-view would air on the Sunday, and then the replay would be available 2 days later on Tuesday. That's why not only did they redo the Beware of Dog pay-per-view where the power went out in South Carolina the following Tuesday with a brand new show, but they did this Tuesday in Texas because instead of doing the replay, they did a whole brand new show. And you remember, nobody bought the goddamn this Tuesday in Texas. It bombed.
Now, different fan base, different consumer, different way people consume, and different way different different way people spend money.
Yeah, but more people were watching, more people were buying pay-per-view, more of everything was going on 30 years ago than it is now. It still didn't work.
Again, using this example, and it's extreme, if you did something to light up Bucks and Page against FTR and Punk,
go to Chicago.
And go to Chicago, do you think that week would make it worth it? Could you do it?
Here's the thing.
You have 1 week then.
I'm sure Chicago will be sold out, but maybe the way things are going, maybe not. If they did that, Chicago would be turning them away. But that still may be, it's obviously not going to happen. But if they did it that quick, it might be throwing away pay-per-view revenue, where if they beat it to death on TV for the next 3 or 4 weeks, they may do significantly better on pay-per-view, streaming, whatever, because more people would find out about it instead of just the dedicated audience that's going to know everything. It might be quick to turn that around and do that on pay-per-view like that, but I mean, they throw away other opportunities. Why not throw away that one? But it's still not going to happen, because even though it would, as I said, turn people away in Chicago and get a ton of interest from the hardcore devoted fans, the Buckaroos and Hangnail would have to work with goddamn guys that beat them up that they're upset about or they're mad at. And they ain't going to do that just because it's business.
Well, why don't we look at this card, and again, maybe something will jump out to you as something that is apparent that would lead into the big pay-per-view a week later in Chicago.
Oh, boy. And by the way, just as we're previewing Wembley Stadium, and they're saying it's either going to be number 1 or number 2 at this point on all-time paid crowds, I'm not taking the piss out of it when I say this. Does anybody out there think that it's the product that sold these tickets, or is it the statement that the fans buying these tickets made? It's a happening. The UK fans are making it Woodstock. They've sold more tickets than Austin versus The Rock. Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock in the hottest period ever in wrestling. They've sold more tickets than that without announcing anybody to be on the card. Because it's not about who's on the card or what the card is. It's where the card is, the statement that the fans going to the card are making by going. We want a big event in the United Kingdom. Fuck you, Vince McMahon, you're the evil empire. Tony Khan is our friend, even if he does wank dogs. Whatever their goddamn thinking is over there, they were determined to make this a thing, a happening, and it's now self-fulfilling prophecy. And now, like you said, to be honest, to sell all those tickets without them knowing a card or a match, and now when they're finding out about it, all they've got to do now is bitch and complain. Well, they should have given us a better card. That's the only place to go is down, because it can't be as good as they had it in their minds when they thought AEW in Wembley Stadium will see Twinkle Toes wrestle Will Ostrich on a cloud 5 miles above the ring. See, it can't be as good as they dreamed it was going to be, because they're fucking insane. They're all insane, and they've gotten wrapped up in hysteria. And now they've sold 80,000 tickets. And there you go. I'm sure most people will like the show just fine. There probably will be some people complaining. We'll probably be amongst them. But they're never going to do it again. This is never going to happen again until the WWE announces WrestleMania at Wembley Stadium.
For 2 nights.
For 2 nights, and then they'll do it. But AEW, in the meantime, couldn't draw 15 cents in Chinese money in this country, and they're going to have to come back to reality a week later. So let's talk about the Wembley Stadium card.
And again, there may be more matches added. Who knows what's going to happen in the next week. But the first match listed for the 0-hour pre-show event, 5 p.m. in London, noon Eastern Time, for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship, the champions Aussie Open versus MJF and Adam Cole.
I think the only reason to have this is to further their issue So they're either going to win the belts or turn on each other in that match, and I would imagine win the belts. Because that will be a red herring for what's going to happen later on that night, unless they've got some goddamn thing dreamed up with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom and whatever. But
Kyle
O'Reilly, maybe. Then again, they're breaking up that old gang of ours, breaking up MJF and Cole at this point. It may not be good for the ratings. I don't know. We'll see. Somebody's got a brilliant idea somewhere in there. We'll see if it comes across. But I predict they'll either win the belts or break up in that 0-hour match, and my money's on winning the belts.
It's even more intriguing than if they win the belts and then go into the match not knowing what's going to happen.
But then also, if they do break up, you can have a tournament to crown new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, and that way Tony gets another tournament.
Well, Jim, another thing that Tony loves is the next match. In a stadium stampede, the Blackpool Combat Club and 3 mystery partners versus the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston, and the Lucha Brothers.
Jesus H. Christ. Wait a minute, how many of those is there? The Lucha Brothers, Eddie Kingston?
6 on 6.
The Puddin' Gang. I thought it was 5 on 5 before. Now it's going to be 6 on 6?
6 on 6 with 3 mystery partners to be added.
Oh, boy. I'm sure they'll all be Japanese. So that way all those people will get a giggle. The BBC is going to win because they can't not win the big brawl in the arena. And I'm sure that they're going to, in the process of doing that against a bunch of fucking mid-card guys and outright job guys like the Puddin' Gang, they're going to do all the shit that the later matches that people paid to see could have done, but they'll do it first, so it'll diminish the main events.
Well, and again, let me just say, we don't know the order of matches. We're just going based on the order that they are here on their website.
You think the Puddin' Gang is going to main event Wembley Stadium? Tony's not even that fucking demented.
Well, speaking of dementia, the next match listed, Jim, Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay.
Well, there you go. I predict, I don't know. They may want to make the people happy. Ostrich might win. Or they may want to make Jericho happy and Jericho will win. I'm up in the air on that one.
It's going to be a real test for Ostrich dealing with Jericho and the fact that Jericho always tries to do stuff that he physically can't anymore. Could be interesting.
I hope Ostrich is a member of AAA, the automobile club. He'll need it to call a wrecker to pull fucking Jericho up on a top rope after 10 minutes.
I don't know if they do things in England, AAA.
The American Automobile Club, not in England? Well, that's a travesty.
Well, I don't know if the next one will be a travesty, but Jim, for the Real World Championship, the Real World Champion CM Punk versus the Ring of Honor TV Champion Samoa Joe.
Looking forward to this one. I do not believe that the title will change hands because there's still the big unification to be done down the road. I think that Punk will edge this out, but I think it'll be a slobber knocker, as they say. I'm a big fan of Joe's also, and they've got history and they work well together.
In a big trios match, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi versus Konosuke Takeshita, Jay White, and Juice Robinson.
Again, I wish we hadn't got jacked out of another match between FTR and Gin and Juice, which was nothing but a classic, 2 classics, just to feed the ego of Twinkle Toes and his little fucking friends and Ibushi. Ibushi's got to be there. But, there's always next time. Gin and Juice are wasted. That's my comment in that match. Who gives 2 shits?
So is Takeshita.
And Takeshita. Or Take a Shit, as most people know him.
I don't know about most people, but Jim, most people may be looking forward to the next match. A coffin match. Darby Allin and Sting versus Swerve Strickland and AR Fox.
Again, Darby and Swerve and AR Fox are friends, and they're going to do all the combative gymnastics. And poor Sting, I hope they don't talk him into doing something else to show that he's still one of the fellow kids and he hurts himself. And Darby and Sting obviously will be going over.
Is this the entire card? I mean, there's a couple more matches here, but I'm looking. There aren't that many, I guess, names not on the card. Wow, this may be the whole show. For the AEW Women's World Championship, the champion Hikaru Shida versus Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Dr. Britt Baker.
Adam, they've got two hometown girls in that one.
Well, let me stop you, because we're getting a lot of criticism. You are specifically. Lately.
I am? What about what now?
Confusing England with Australia, at least with accents, or New Zealand with Australia.
Is Tony from Australia?
This is where it gets confusing. Someone sent me something that said she was like half British, half Australian, but grew up in New Zealand, or something was like, we can't win.
Well, God damn it, she's closer than Poughkeepsie. Point is, they may be tempted to give Saraya the win because that's her. Is she any more popular over there than she is over here now, which is about as popular as Crotch Rot?
I can't speak to the popularity of Crotch Rot in England right now.
No, I'm talking about Saraya.
Same thing.
Okay. Well, anyway, if she's popular over there, even if she's not, they may think she is. They may want her to win, but I'd put it on Toni Storm. She's actually standing out. She does. Never going to sell a fucking ticket. Goddamn one. Not one single one. Not even half of one. Not even one torn in half. And Dr. Britt's old news, she's been there. I'd put the thing on Toni Storm. She's different.
Put it on Toni, have her beat Saraya. That's the end of the Outcasts.
There you go. And they're mad and they don't want to speak to each other anymore about that.
Jim, for the AEW World Tag Team Championship, the champions FTR versus the Young Bucks.
Well, we talked about that earlier in the program. If this is a standalone clip, I will just reiterate my thought that I don't care what business dictates. I don't care what common sense dictates. I don't care what would make money for AEW or be the right thing to do. There is no way that the Buckaroos are going to lose this match in front of the biggest crowd of all time. They think their shit doesn't stink. They legitimately believe that they're this great tag team that has outperformed everybody in the history of tag team wrestling. They're convinced of that. And they're going to want to win this. And they're going to fly their families over and get them to fucking watch and cheer and take pictures and blow noisemakers when they win the rubber match from FTR and they establish themselves as the best tag team in front of the biggest crowd of all time, even though they're consistent ratings losers, they're consistent life losers. And now, with Cash in trouble, that may give them more ammunition to tell Tony, oh, we got to do it this way. But they were going to do it that way to begin with.
Maybe you shouldn't refer to ammunition when it comes to this.
Well, okay, I didn't mean to pun that either. But these two smarmy, fucking self-obsessed little pricks are going to want to win this match. They're not going to want to do the right thing for business. FTR is a better tag team than the Young Bucks. Everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it now. Everybody's realized it. People are tuning out the Young Bucks on TV. Nobody buys tickets to see them. They're on the show because they were there because Tony was stupid enough to allow them to come in with the big boys. And now he's stuck with them, and he couldn't lose them because he already lost Cody and had made him look bad. And now they're going to say, oh, but Tony, we got to win on the big show, because they genuinely believe that they're somehow good. And they're not. They're woefully not. But that's what's going to happen in that match, mark my words.
Well, I think they've been exposed greatly in the last couple of years. And again, people dive out of the TV show when they're on, minus Kenny Omega. When Omega's there, people will stay. But it's the Bucks themselves that are the problem. Jim, finally, for the AEW World Championship, the champion MJF versus Adam Cole.
I don't know what the fuck they're going to do. I don't believe that Adam Cole will come out of this as the world champion. I don't see why that would be a thing that should be done. I think they've still got proven money with proven draws that can talk people into watching TV and talk people into the building. If they eventually unify between MJF and Punk, the title Punk never lost versus the title that MJF holds now, And Adam Cole winning it would complicate that. I know a lot of people are friends, so you may want to do things with your friends more than you want to make money, but the money match is still Punk going back for the title that he never lost. And so something's going to happen, but I can't see the belt switching hands. Help me out. What do you think?
I genuinely don't know. It's either where we come out of this event, MJF's still champion, him and Adam Cole are still friends, or the exact opposite. Comes out of it and Adam Cole and him aren't. Either MJF suddenly turns on him, Swerve, MJF's aligned with Roddy, something, or Adam fucks over MJF, teaching the longtime heel a lesson while he's become a softer MJF and accepted by the fans. I just don't know if I could see Adam Cole leaving Wembley Stadium as the AEW World Champion. Now, I'm sure they want to produce a big moment. I mean, we're assuming this match will go on last because it's the World Championship match, but maybe that's not a fair assumption. They're going on first with the pre-show, these two. I really don't know what they're going to do.
I think the Buckaroos will put themselves on last also. They'll say, well, it's not fair for two guys to follow four guys because we do all the flips and Max doesn't flip. And that way they get to be the main event also.
Well, that's AEW All In London. Real quick, Jim, All Out in Chicago a week later. 2 matches have been announced. For the TNT Championship, Luchasaurus with Christian Cage versus Darby Allin, and Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
Well, I'd love to see a rematch of Christian Cage against Darby Allin. I'm not interested in seeing the dinosaur wrestle ever. The perfect use of him is to stand there behind Christian and look like Odd Job behind Goldfinger in the Bond movie.
A prehistoric Big Bill.
Yes. If you put him in the ring and have him wrestle, it's going to fucking suck, and it's going to suck hard. And the other match was Hobbs and Miro, and we talked about that a minute ago. It's a natural thing. It's Mark booking to see you want to watch the giant fight the giant. But sometimes those matches don't turn out. I'm not sure that Hobbs nor Miro, either one has the experience that can keep both guys as good as they need to be when they're throwing each other around. But we'll find out. It's not going to be Steamboat against Flair.
No, it's not going to be JYD versus Flair either, but that's All Out following All In, and this is an exciting couple weeks for AEW. We'll see what happens.